And of course, this is all, this is the reason, talking about this stuff is the reason that Marx didn't like trying to sketch out visions of what socialism would look like, because it necessitates, it requires like actual, the end state that people are, or not even, I don't mean the end state, but I mean the post-transition state that people imagine in their heads. It is, and therefore the broader goals and the broader projects that we have to express and live and try to move towards now in the here and around, in the here and now in this moment, necessitate essentially a collective phase shift in human consciousness. And that's not hippie bullshit. We've already had phase shifts in human consciousness. The creation of the modern liberal subject is a phase shift. That happened. Like if you'd gotten a bunch of medieval motherfuckers sit around in the castle in Reims or something and say, hey, like imagine this system collapses and what comes next, or no, not even collapses. Like feudalism, you know what? This thing's bad. Why don't we get a new one? They wouldn't do it, and they never were able to do it because you need to have a liberal subject for that kind of social relationship to even exist, to generate that kind of discourse. But imagining it could, just assuming it could, they wouldn't have been able to get anywhere near where we are, because it would have required them to imagine people acting towards each other in a fundamentally alien way. It would have required them imagining people acting towards each other as strangers, which they could not do. Now, of course, there are strangers in the medieval world, the Saracen and the heathens or whatever. But within Christendom, and certainly within like the community, the idea that you could walk out your door and everybody you saw in a day were people who you did not know. And I don't mean know just in the sense of recognize. I mean the sense of have an actual social embedded relationship with. They couldn't have imagined that. They couldn't imagine living like that. And it's like, well, we live that way because the very order we live in has generated a shifted conception of the self in relationship to others than the medieval subject had. And post-transition socialism would require a similarly shifted perception of others, a re-socialized conception of the self, where you have regained the social embeddedness of pre-capitalist society, but within a cosmopolitan framework, where it doesn't have to be somebody who you've dug turnips next to your whole life, or somebody who goes to the same cathedral that spent 300 years being built, or that fights in the same crusade. Everybody, maybe not as deeply but as influential towards one's like ideas of loneliness and fulfillment and existential satisfaction, similar. But that phase shift only comes with a change, with a revolution. Of what type? I have no idea. I wish I could tell you. And I believe, someone says, I feel like this is the thing that anarchists miss, and that's absolutely it. The anarchist assumes an inviolable liberal subjectivity that will persist into their anarchist society that they are imagining moving towards. And that will only reproduce, liberalism can only produce capitalism. Because in the absence of social bonds, we are all out for ourselves. We are all homo economicus. We are all going to seek to benefit from the surplus of labor that we did not participate in, because we do not feel the injustice of that, because it's not happening to us. And now someone might say, well, there are anarchists who do take this into consideration, and it's like, maybe, but my observation of anarchism in practice and as a tradition suggests the otherwise.